Yes. Hello, he's back again. I said I would be, and hopefully I will continue to be. Nice to be here, Battletech fans. Here to talk about some more of the CCG. And today, a little different. We're going to go at something that I must admit I have said isn't particularly good in the past. I've been quite negative about, probably rightly so. But we're here for the interest and the discussion. And today we're going to try and make the most that we can out of missiles. Okay. So missiles themselves are notoriously iffy and in a lot of cases very variable, to the extent that if you haven't got munitions on the table, then things can get quite dicey. Missiles have some great advantages. You can shoot them straight over the top at whatever the target is. And if you can get things right, then you can deal an awful lot of damage, and direct damage that way. The only other ways to achieve that are with something like long range abilities, or directly just attacking whatever it is and having no blockers. The only problem with that is that your opponent might get a little upset at that and decide to throw something in your way. So missiles in themselves have an advantage. And lots of new players go to missile decks probably because they've come from the tabletop background, where missiles can actually be very, very powerful. For those people that have played both, then you might say that the CCG undersells them, or they're a little underwhelming in the CCG. Okay, but we're here to explore how to make the most out of them today. So there are a couple of things that we need to do with our missiles. First of all, we need to make sure munitions are in play. In fact, forget that. Let's rewind even further than that. Let's look at what a missile does. Okay, a missile is a unit ability. Let's look at a unit for a change. Let's look at this ONTOS, this little missile-based tank in a very nice blue with blowing up, and it does look like his exhaust pipe is on fire, doesn't it? Here, okay. So this ONTOS has the ability, call it what you want for the moment. Oops, let's get the right one. Oh, they both got missile, but hey. This one has missile 3. And for each missile, you roll the dice. Okay, so that's 3 rolls. Okay. And normally on a roll of a 1 or a 2, that missile will do 1 or 2 damage. Okay. If you have the munitions asset in play, then you will see that it says if you have munitions in play and you roll a 3 on a missile roll, that missile deals 3 damage. Great. Interesting that they've included word volley there. Not sure whether that... yeah, don't get that wrong. That just means that missile does anything. Volley often means more than 1, and in this case they don't all deal 3. Okay. So a missile is doing 1 or 2 damage per missile in this case, and it does 1, 2, or 3 damage if you have munitions in play. Okay, so let's actually rewind on that and think what our other options are. When we roll the dice, we can get a 4, a 5, or a 6. Okay, and in those cases, your missile does nothing. It disappears off into the sunset, it crashes into the brick wall or the sides of the mountain, and does absolutely no damage apart from destroy some of the wildlife and flora and fauna. Okay, so a 4, 5, and 6, no good. Okay, so that means that the average damage from a missile, if you rolled 6 dice, you would on average roll a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. So that means that the average damage, 1 for rolling a 1, 2 for rolling a 2, 3 for rolling a 3, which is 6 in total. You get nothing for a 4, nothing for a 5, nothing for a 6. So if you rolled 6 missiles, on average, you would score 6 damage. Okay, so that's actually not that great. I mean, if you said to me this Ontos was actually a 3-4-3 unit, I'd say, you know what, I really would quite play that. But the variability of our missiles, not knowing what damage we're going to do with them, really makes that quite tricky. And that's one of the big problems with them. Okay, so what we're going to explore in a few minutes is actually how to make those a little more reliable. Okay, and how also to boost our missiles. Okay, so in that respect, missiles themselves are A, variable, and B, not that great. If I go and change my filters over here and go and look at the big beastie that is the Nightgyre D, and this is the one that everyone saw and thought, yay, that's great. Missile 6. Okay, fine. Missile 6. But if you said to me it was a 299 overheat 3+5, so I convert our average missile roll of 1 damage per missile from being missile 6 to being 6 direct damage, for 15, you might feel slightly aggrieved. It's a 299 missiles overheat 3+4. So let's look at let's just say it's a Massacre instead. It's a 310, 29, okay, a bit more, 8 damage for less. Let me get rid of, because I've got a filter on here, let's take this off. Let's look at one of the other Massacres. 3910, 3910, 31010, 310-8. So let's look at this Massacre here at 3910. Overheat 4+3. For 13, our Nightgyre is actually a 299. So I've got less armour, less structure, and doing 1 less damage. I've got an overheat 3+4 versus an overheat 4+3. They're not quite comparable, but you get the idea. And this overpriced Massacre is still cheaper than our Nightgyre D. So when you look at them like that, missiles don't actually seem that attractive. However, the fact that this could deal 6 damage or 6 die rolls, which if you completely lucked out and rolled 6 3s, could be 18 damage directly to the target, which could be a stockpile, and you think 40 damage to kill again, you can see why actually some people find it reasonably attractive. Okay, you're going to have to roll lots and lots of 3s, or numbers that allow you to manipulate them to 3. But it's all variable. So you can see why people kind of think, yay, missiles are really cool. They're going to do loads of damage and win the game with them. And actually they're very, very variable. Okay. Right, so let's have a quick look at them. There are a couple of missions that allow you to modify your die rolls, but generally I don't find them to be that great. Nice grouping is play only during battle, choose one of your mechs and one of your opponent's mechs. All missiles fired from your opponent's mech deal damage equal to die roll. Yay, that's great. If I roll 6, whoa. And in fact, when you think about it, you could roll 6 6s. So our Nightgyre D could do 36 damage, plus the base 3, plus the overheat 3+5. It's arguably the mech that deals the most damage in one hit if you add all the totals up. For anyone here who's listening and has a thought, what other unit, or are there any other units that could achieve that? And the answer is, I'm not sure. I don't think there are. Please correct me. There you go, a little challenge for you today. Go and find something that does more than 36, 39, 44 damage from one mech and one mission. So it does those damages instead of the normal damage, and you can only deal damage to that particular unit with you. Of course, that will absolutely explode and blow up and nuke from orbit absolutely any unit in the game. Even your Daishis at 412s or whatever else it is are going to get annihilated by it. But hey ho. Steady fire is another mission, and again, I'm not overly sold on this. Play if you lost initiative. Roll the missile dice for each of your units now. Whenever you use a missile option, use the die rolls instead of rolling when damage resolves. So this allows you to know what damage you are doing and where it's going, although you have to lose initiative. Note that you could be doing this if you're attacking, because it only says losing initiative. So all you need to do is lose initiative. And I believe this is the case. You can play steady fire, roll the missile rolls so you know what you're getting. Then you could forge mission order a single blocker and be able to deal damage knowing the missile die rolls directly to the stock. Bit convoluted. I think that's how it works. I think that's how it works with Chaos March Veteran. You allocate the extra +2 damage, and when there's no mech there, because you've used the ability, you still get +2. So you actually deal more than you think for with that. Okay. And then finally, the Inner Sphere only, which, okay, maybe this is an Inner Sphere tactic. For the rest of the mission, you must subtract 1 from each of your missile die rolls immediately after rolling that missile die. Rest of the mission, it's only one mission. It's not like Lured into the Bog where it's per turn, which in that case would make it quite useful. But generally this isn't that great. And the reason this is not great is that there are other add-ons that are much better. And what my intention to do now, because yes, he's done a spreadsheet. We know he likes spreadsheet. He's done a spreadsheet. I've done a spreadsheet to make the maths easier and allow me to talk it through to you in order to help that understandable. Okay, Chester, just for you, mate. So, there are 3, those are the missions. There are 3 basic ways to modify the die roll on a missile mech. And everyone at this point is going to go and say, Field Command Post! And I haven't even included this. I haven't included this because it's generic, it's a resource. It says add 1 to one of your die rolls. Any die roll. I haven't even included it. Not on the list. So, what is on the list? Well, these are the 3 basic ways to modify missiles and missile damage or optimize them. Okay, and the reason I've had to add that bit on the end is because I included retrofitted missile rack. Okay, so I'm going to start at the first one, which is targeting ace. Okay, it costs 1, it has a 2 tactics buyout, it's a normal deployment, and it does bugger all for your attack. You can put it on a mech. Okay, it's a pilot, so you can't put it on a vehicle. Okay, and this allows you to add and or subtract 1 from each die roll, and that's very powerful because if you roll a 2 you can pump that up to a 3 using the plus, and if you roll a 4 you can drop that down to a 3 with the minus, and 3 is our sweet spot. 3 is the most that missiles can do if we have munitions in play, and I'm assuming that we do for the rest of this. Okay, so there's a pilot. There's your bombing pilot, your targeting ace, as you said. Nice picture, etc., etc. And they're there to bump up units with missiles on. They don't do anything else on any other units. Simple as that. It's not a die roll, it's a missile die roll. So you can't even use them for missions, like Star Commander, for example. Okay. Next card, we have the Narc Retrofit. It's a 0 cost, it has 3 tactics buyout. It's a free deploy, so you can deploy this and gain another deployment. You lose -1 attack from this, and this allows you to add Narc to your unit. Okay, sorry, not unit, mech. Okay, subtract 1, and the Narc ability allows you to subtract 1 from each roll. So unfortunately a 2, if you want, isn't going to get more than a 2 because we can't increase it. 3 is going to stay as a 3. A 4 we can get down to a 3. And all of a sudden you'll probably find, when we look at it in a minute, that the damage is going to increase at that point because of the die rolls. Okay. It is per unit, and sometimes units have this ability built in. You apply it to the unit, it stays with the unit, it's static. That's one of the things I kind of missed when I mentioned targeting Ace, is that you can move him around. That's okay, you've got a mech that's about to die and one over here with a fresh load of ammo, pop him on the new one and away you go. Okay, so our mech gets -1 attack and we can give it the narc ability. Okay, now as I said, the narc ability is one of the other methods. It's useful, but a number of the missile mechs have this built in. And I suspect that when you look at this, it's much easier to pick a unit that has narc incorporated in it than it is to actually just add this as a card. For example, because narc affects the entire group. Okay? Yeah. Any mech in a group that includes at least one mech with narc. So if I've got 3 mechs, I've got narc on and the narc effect on all of them. So simply, would I go for narc, or let's just have a quick look at the good old text. Where's text gone on here? Sorry, I made this too small. Scroll up. So where's text? Text contains narc. Let's see what we get. So there are a number of units here with narc. We're just going to pick the first one, which is the Fire Falcon. There it is. Thank you very much. So where's our narc? Here's our Fire Falcon. So in a unit with or a group that includes our, in this case, Fire Falcon, which has narc, even though it doesn't have any missiles. I suspect it probably has some... Oh, it has 8 SRMs, which aren't even enough to get the missile 1. Bit of a shame, really. But, you know, there's a nice bit of fast coverage with it in. And you can see that down here there are a number of other units that do have narc with them. Okay, so probably better to choose one of those than it is to put an entire card in with narc retrofit. The other thing is you get a unit. So narc retrofit in itself isn't a great card. If, like some of the other retrofits, they've got draw a card when you activate it, I might say it's a lot better, because that allows you to cycle through the deck and find the things that you're looking for. Okay. And finally, after a mouthwater of pink juice, Missile Rat retrofit. Costs 2, has a 3 munitions buyout. It is a free deployment. Like the narc retrofit, it removes 1 damage, and you can apply this to a unit. It does say unit on the card, and it adds 2 missiles to that unit. Okay, so I'm losing 1 damage, but gaining 2 missiles. So effectively, on our law of missile averages, it gives me +1, if we assume each missile does 1 damage. And the other thing is, provided we have the attack bonus for this, then you can slap them on, slap them on, and slap them on, and slap them on. There is no limit to the number of here. The only limit to this particular card is how many attack points you have. So if you think about a Fenris B with a 164, you could actually put 4 missile rat retrofits on it and give it 8 missiles. If you think about our friend, the Nightjaya D, with 3 attack on it, you could put 3 missile rat retrofits on here and give it missile 12. That's freaking scary if you can get them all to do 3 damage, because that's 36. That's probably game over. If that puppy hits the stockpile, that's very, very probably game over. Okay. Although that does assume that 1, you can get a Nightjaya on the table, and 2, you have all those missile rat retrofits, and 3, you've got munitions. That'd be quite a fun deck to see if anyone could get that to work. You could probably do it, because there's no asset buyout on Nightjaya D. You might be able to do it with Diamond Wills, command post to do +1 to a die roll, although I think that's mission only. Let's just have a quick check on that. I should have put that in the list of cards, shouldn't I? Oops, I can't spell field. Take that out. Got rid of that. I got rid of the... What am I doing here? Let's just clear. I can't spell field. I'm filtering too many things, or has Lackey fallen on its face? What's going on here? Let's turn the filters off. That's probably easy. Here's our field command. One of your die rolls, use it after the die roll. So, no, can use that at any point. So, on a Diamond Wheels, you could probably get that big thing in the game. Slap on a Scientist cast or something like that to recycle your enhancements, and away you go. That could be some fun. But hey. So these are our 3 cards that we would probably entertain in a missile deck in order to boost our missiles. Okay. My question is, are they actually any good? What do they actually bring? And are they actually effective or useful? Okay. And that's what we're going to have a look at. So, quick reminder. Here we have across the top, I'm assuming we have munitions in play. Okay, we have the die rolls down the side here in the screen area. I'll just move that so we can see that a bit better. And you roll a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. Okay, and your normal damage, if you roll that, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But actually, that is effectively a 0, a 0, and a 0. Okay. And that's a 0, and that's a 0, and that's a 0, and that's a 0, and that's a 0. Because 4, 5s, and 6 don't count. Okay. So, as I've said earlier, total damage from 1, 2, and 3 is 6. We roll 6 dice. That gives us an average missile or average damage per missile of 1. Not great. Okay. If we add Narc into the mix, then Narc removes 1 from the die roll. So our 1 stays as our 1, a 2 stays as a 2, a 3 stays as a 3, but a 4 becomes a 3 because we can remove 1. And therefore, our total amount of damage is now 9, spread over our 6 attacks. So our average is 1.5. So any missile mech with Narc on does 50% more damage than a missile mech without Narc and the same amount of missiles. Okay. So if you've got 6 missiles like our Night Giant D, you would probably look to get 9 damage out of it if there was a unit with Narc. Okay. Simple as that. It's a 150% booster. Okay. Next, if we add a targeting ace. Now, a targeting ace adds 1 or removes 1 from our die roll. So if we roll a 1, we can add 1 to make that 2. If we have a 2, we can add 1 to make it a 3. If we roll a 3, then we don't need to do anything. If we roll a 4, we can reduce that to a 3 as well. So our targeting ace now gives us a total of 11, which gives us an average missile of 1.8 damage. So that's quite a large increase. That's a 83% if you do the maths increase over our normal missile. Okay, and that doesn't include Narc. That's just plain vanilla targeting ace on its own. Okay, now if you combine the two, the effects are cumulative. Our 1 becomes a 2 because we can add 1 with targeting ace. Our 2 becomes a 3 because we can add 1 with targeting ace. 3 stays the same. 4, we can either use the targeting ace or the Narc ability, either to reduce the damage, reduce the die roll by 1 to a 3. And if we roll a 5, then we can use our targeting ace and our Narc together to take 2 off that and get that down to a 3 as well. So our total damage is 14 over 6 missiles, which gives you an average of 2.3. They're cumulative. So having a Narc and a targeting ace increases our missile damage by 233%, which is a hell of an increase. Okay, our missile rack retrofit, I'm going to remove it. Not even featured on this slide because we haven't added any missiles. All we're looking at is the effect of these two. Okay, so if I can get a unit with NARC in, that's good. Generally free and cheap. If I can get targeting ace down, all of a sudden my damage goes up. And if I can combine the two, I'm feeling reasonably happy. Okay. So, where do I want to put these cards? Which mech, which units do I want to put these on? Okay. So, here is an example. I have 3 examples. A unit with Missile 1, a unit with Missile 2, and a unit of Missile 3. Our Night Gyre, well, we might do the maths after that, but we'll see. So, here's our Missile 1 mech. Okay, I just picked a Fenris C. I've got a soft spot for it. It's a 161 Missile 1. And the reason I've picked this alongside this is that the fact that it has 1 damage. So I can put a missile rack retrofit on it and remove that 1 attack and drop that down. I will not be able to put NARC retrofit and missile retrofit on this because I haven't got the damage to do it because I lose 1 damage each time. Okay, so let's go back and review where we were. Here's our normal damage, 1, 2 and 3. These are zeros. That's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 0, effectively. So normally I would do damage when I roll my missile die of 1, 2 or 3. I do 6 damage in total. I've got an average of 1. Okay, if I roll 3. Now, so in this case, our Fenris C has 1 missile, so my average damage is 1. Okay, plus the 1 damage on the Fenris C. So effectively, it's doing 2 damage in total. Okay, if I get rid of this 1 and add my missile rack retrofit, all of a sudden I now have 3 missiles. My average roll, or my average damage, is going to increase to 3, 1 for each of the 3 missiles. This 1 damage on the unit is lost from the retrofit, so I have just increased my damage potentially from 2 to 3. Okay, so that is an average, by the way, of 2 to 3. Okay, by increasing or adding a NARC to it, I've increased it from 1 to 1.5. And if I've got NARC on with 3 missiles, which I can't do in this case because I haven't got the damage, I'd get that up to 4.5. Okay. If we look at the case of targeting ace, we are basically increasing our missile of 1 up to 1.83. Okay. So the really, really simple conclusion from this, and I don't think I've explained that particularly well, but putting NARC on it is only going to give me half a point. Putting a targeting ace on it is only going to give me 0.8 of 1. So I mightn't even get to 2 damage. Okay. If I sacrifice my 1 damage on here and put 3 missiles on here, I will increase my damage to 3. Okay. So with a unit with 1 missile on it, NARC doesn't give you a great deal if you add it. If it's in a group, then it's free, effectively. If you put a targeting ace on it, you're not really doing a great deal either. If you stick a missile rack retrofit on it, you are upping the damage, okay, to the extent that it actually becomes a bit more of a threat. Okay, so my conclusion here is if you've got a mech with missile 1 on it, don't bother with the targeting ace or the NARC retrofit. The only time you might put the targeting ace on there is if it's in your hand or you want to get it on the table, but you've got no other units to put it on. Fair enough. You might, a bit of card draw and you might be stuck all between a rock and a hard place and then wondering what you're doing on that side of the rock. Yeah, okay. So that would be the only reason you probably put targeting ace on a missile unit with 1 missile on it. Otherwise, it's a waste. You're not getting enough bang for your buck. In fact, I'm not even sure what bang you're getting, so to speak. Okay. Now, let's jump. Let's go to a missile mech with 2 missiles on. And I've chosen the Puma C. And you'll also note that this has NARC built in, which is great. And it has 2 attack, which if I wanted to put NARC on it, then I could add my missile retrofit as well. Okay. 1 second whilst I think there's a knock at the door. Back soon. My apologies. Good old Amazon. They'll bang your windows and knock your doors down in order to deliver, but they won't ring your doorbell. Oh well, Sylvie. So yes, we were talking about this Puma C, which has 2 attack and narc built in. So what happens with our 2 missiles? If we put a retrofitted missile system on there, we up our damage average, from 2 missiles plus 2, 4, up to 2 missiles plus 2 more missiles, 4 missiles plus another 1 damage because we've lost 1 from the retrofit to get it up to 5. So again, that's quite a nice increase. Okay. Narc is already built in, and the benefit here is the fact that by adding missile 2, getting that up to missile 4, Narc affects all 4 of those missiles. So on that, then we've basically upped our damage to 6 plus 1 from the basic mech damage gets that to 7. And if we then put a targeting, if we just put a targeting ace on, so this is just plain vanilla mech, 252 missile 2 with a targeting ace. The targeting ace is going to increase our missile damage to 3.67. Okay, so that's not a great increase. Okay, and again, my kind of conclusion here is it's probably better, because Narc's incorporated here, to put the missile rack retrofit on and have more of them than it is to put our targeting ace on. The targeting ace doesn't do a great deal compared to having more missiles. It's like saying I can improve 1 missile regardless of whether I've got 1 missile or 10 missiles. And then the fact that you can add another 10 missiles doesn't, outshines it. So in this case, the conclusion is more missiles, the better. Yay, great. Duck. All right. So there we go. Our targeting ace, not quite as good. Maybe more missiles. Finally. Probably one of the early game big puppies of missiles was the Ryokan D. Good old Smoke Jag missile boat. And 271 missile 3 narc built in. Great, we don't need to worry about our narc retrofit. And on a 271 missile 3, our damage would normally be 4, an average of 1 for each missile and 1 from the mech itself. Because that's narc, that 3 is effectively going up half on each case, so that becomes 4.5 plus our damage 5.5. Okay, drop this damage, add 2 missiles, and all of a sudden I've got missile 5 with narc. I'm doing 7.5 damage, and I'm losing my basic 1 attack because of the retrofit. So again, the boost from the retrofit goes up quite drastically. Okay, if we put our targeting ace on there with 3 basic missiles, our damage is going to go up to about 5.5. But because this unit has narc incorporated, it goes up to 7 naturally. So our basic unit, 3 missiles and 1 damage, because it's got narc on it, if we stick a targeting ace on there, we're only losing out on half a damage than if we put a missile rack retrofit on there. Okay. I probably should have looked at that when I went and did Puma D. Puma D, Puma C. Let's go back and check it. It's got narc incorporated. It's got 2 missiles with narc, and our targeting ace is doing 4.6. But because it's got narc and we go to missile 4, we're already doing 6. So definitely not worth the targeting ace, better with more missiles here. But even because of the volume, basically, Narc affects every missile. The more missiles we have, the better. It's a 50% increase. So, general conclusion now is that if I've got a higher missile mech, and Narc incorporated in this case, targeting ace is your better choice instead of more missiles, because you've already got a critical mass of missiles, so to speak. You've got the right number, you're at the curve, and you're maximizing the damage from each of those, because with Narc and targeting ace, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 all do damage. That shouldn't be there. That should go. That should go. That should go. Oops, didn't want to do that, did I? Let's clear that out. Yeah. So on 5 of my 6 die rolls, I am dealing damage with my targeting ace. If I've just got Narc, I'm only doing it on 4. So that extra 1, which is going to be a 3, makes quite a difference. Okay. So here we go. Here's the conclusion. Where do I put my Narc retrofit? Where do I put my targeting ace? Where do I put my missile rack? And the very, very simple rule is, okay, if you have got a normal unit with 2 or 3 missiles, your targeting ace just shades it. If it's got 1 missile, then your missile rack is better. Okay. Where you've got more missiles and you've got Narc, then your missile rack retrofit does more for the lower numbers, and your targeting ace is better at the higher numbers. Okay, so they are opposites. Okay, if you've got Narc, then generally, simple rule: Narc, 1 or 2 missiles, retrofit; 3 missiles, targeting ace. Okay, normal mech, no Narc, retrofit if you've got 1. If you've got 2 or 3 missiles, targeting ace. Okay. Simple as that. There's kind of my advice, guidance, rules, whatever you want to call them, on how to maximize your units. So let's go back, and we'll find our targeting ace, and we'll get this, and we'll find our Narc. I'll put a Narc retrofit in, and let's also have a missile rack retrofit. So our Nightjaya D has got missile 6. So that's 6 missiles on it. Okay. I'm only going to be able to do this without doing my spreadsheet. Do it in my head. We've got 6 missiles. Oh dear. I'm not even going to go here, am I? Missile with 6. Okay. Targeting ace and Narc means it will do 14 damage. Okay. If you add retrofitted missile rack, it's going to have 8 missiles. I've not even got there, have I? So 14 damage on this. So if you've got a Nightjaya D, Jade Falcon unit, add in your Fire Falcon D to the group, put a targeting ace on that, it's going to do, did I say 14? Yeah, it's going to do 14 straight to the stockpile. Okay, you could drop those. You could drop the 3 attack and put 3 missile rack retrofits on it, which give you missile 12. So on average, it would do 28 damage to the stockpile if you've got Narc and targeting ace there, which is probably close to winning you the game. The next turn, if that didn't happen, then you'd probably win if you didn't die. So there you go. There's my kind of summary or conclusion for what to do when you I'll leave that. When you are playing around with missile mechs and where to make the most of it. Okay, I certainly think that when you look at the Puma C and the Puma A, if I remember rightly, here we go, missile 3, you put these two together, Puma A and a Puma C together, there they are. The D's got alpha and the prime has got overheat. areas. So if you put those two together and you run some Fire Falcons, then you've got quite a nice setup. You've got Narc all over the place. And all you really want to do after that is add some extra missiles and put your targeting aces in. The problem with bumping things up with these boosters is that you reduce probably the number of slots for missions that you're going to have. And therefore, things like nice grouping and whatever else, although they're going to hurt, you don't get the most effectiveness out of them. Just brings me to one small card that I do like, because when people counter missile mechs, or the best way to counter missile decks is to put them on the back foot, to make them defend. Because all of a sudden, the damage you're doing is very, very variable. And you don't know what you can clear, and you don't know what you can destroy, and whatever else. And there's a chance you don't destroy anything. 4 mechs come across the table, or 4 mechs attack you, and you can't kill any of them, which is a nightmare. So one of the ways that they do that is to put you on the back foot. Or if you're playing a missile deck, putting it on the back foot is the best way forward. And then the second method after that is to hunt and pick off the missile mechs. So if you're the missile player, one of the really good defensive mechs missions is feint. Nothing happens, fine. Nothing happens, I just deal my damage as normal. 2 to 6, prevent all damage received by that unit. So you deal no damage, you get none back. Okay, it works quite well. And when you look for something like Temporary Ceasefire as an alternative, roll a die, mechs deal no damage and you draw a card. 2 to 6, all mechs deal no damage. So your mechs deal no damage, it's probably going to die. All mechs deal no damage, you draw a card. Feint is probably... I tend to prefer feint in that respect. So that's one of the things that you want to try and put in to keep your units alive. Certainly when you look at something like a Ryokan D at 6 cost, it takes a while to get on the table. So for those of you that are playing missile decks, I think your little Pumas, your 3 and 4 cost Pumas, alongside your Jade Falcony type stuff, are arguably the way to go. You could even steal Talons in that deck, removing 1 unit, which could be an attacking unit or a defending unit. So that's quite a good utilitarian defensive card. You probably aren't going to use it on attack, because removing any blockers is only going to allow your 1 basic damage to go through, or 2 or 3 basic damage, in which case you've probably sacrificed 1 or 2 of that for your retrofits anyway. So, anyway, hope you've had some fun. Hope you've had some interesting stuff. I'm not sure how well I've explained that and how well you can see it. It seemed to work out all right in my head. But, as I've often said, this is rough and raw and straight out the trap without any scripting or any editing or whatever else. I don't go away and edit this for 3 hours before I put it on YouTube. I'm quite happy if I I get things wrong, I'll stick my hand up in the air and try and deal with it there and then. If I have made any mistakes, please let me know and stuff like that. So those are my conclusions. Where to put your targeting ace, where to put your missile rack retrofit. Probably don't bother with Narc unless, well, probably don't bother with Narc. Get it on a unit or use a unit with it as part of the basis of your deck. Don't waste a card on it. As I said, if like something like Jump Jet Retrofit, it cycled a card, it might be worth considering, but in this kind, no. So, thank you very much. I've been a silly Englishman for this and talked about Battletech. Thank you for listening to my inane rubbish and ramble and whatever else. I hope to return soon. Got a few ideas as to what the next one is. Might be a card review, might be a deck. Yeah, deck could be fun. But I might do some tier list or something or other like that soon. But until next time, look after yourselves. It's a big bad world out there, and I'll see you soon.